What's up, everyone? In this video, we have some big things to talk about related to US and China tensions and earnings that happened after the bell today. We saw a lot of interesting movement throughout the day, some positive, some negative. In this video, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about the market right now and some good setups for the rest of the week. Tom, I know there's a bunch of people talking about China and Nancy Pelosi and the stock market and war and all that stuff right now. So what do we need to know?
Yeah, so pretty much Nancy Pelosi did decide to go to Taiwan. She ended up landing there today, even though China is denouncing her visit, as you can see here at the top of the New York Times article. But this is obviously a pretty big deal. So China's been making a lot of threats towards Pelosi doing this. They even said down here in this article, whenever you scroll down, playing with fire will set yourself on fire as they condemned her visit. So it's very weird the words that they're choosing here. A lot of people have been speculating China might try to shoot Pelosi's plane down or something like that. That obviously did not happen. She was able to land. So as of right now, she did go to Taiwan. We'll have to see what ends up happening or if something does end up escalating from this. But I will say, Mike, the market didn't really care too much about this today. QQQ did start flying up. We did see the SPY move up in the morning as well, then start to fade off a little bit in the middle of the day. So I don't know. The market was really up and down, mostly just a flat day. I don't think that this Pelosi news really affected it too much, but I will say a lot of growth stocks had some pretty good moves today, like Asana, Fubo, DraftKings, Peloton, and stocks like that actually did very, very, very well today. DraftKings itself ended up closing up over 8.9%.
Awesome. So, like you said, the Pelosi and Taiwan slash China news didn't have too much of an impact on the market overall, at least for right now. But there's a lot of ifs that could happen with this catalyst. There's just a lot of unknowns. But the main thing is that China is looking at Taiwan similar as to how Russia was looking at Ukraine. Ideally, we do not want any further escalation between China and Taiwan, but we'll see what happens. So just keep this news on just on your radar. Hopefully it does not escalate, but if it does, that could be pretty bad for the world and of course the market overall.
Yeah, definitely. So just be careful with it. It's like one of those black swan events that could end up making the market go crazy. Obviously, if China does something, that would really hurt our relations with them. And you have to be really careful with these China stocks right now, like Baba, JD, Baidu, Queb, stocks like that. They've been really going down a lot lately. But I will say, even with all the crazy news today, Mike, they ended up popping up a little bit. It was interesting to see Baba flying up as much as they were. I noticed even JD and Baidu were up a little bit too. So interesting to see those stocks actually close green with all these tensions going on.
Very true. So, Tom, another thing we had to talk about is the earnings from today. So, over the past couple weeks, we've had a lot of powerhouse companies report. One of the most popular stocks, AMD, reported in after hours today. Their earnings seemed pretty decent, but the stock's falling. What's happening?
Yeah, so the stock was actually above $100 today, which was a pretty big milestone. It's been a while since AMD's been up above 100, but yeah, with these earnings coming out now, they're dipping down to around 95.50 as of this moment. And these earnings, like you said, were actually pretty good. So they beat on EPS ever so slightly. Honestly, it's more of just came in right around the expectation. Same thing with the revenue, just ever so slightly beat there. And they did say they expect some pretty good revenue in the future. So their FY 2022 sales actually came in pretty good. That they're expecting 26 to 26.6 billion versus a 26.18 billion estimate. So honestly, if they come into their 26 to 26.6 billion range, that will pretty much be right around that estimate. So I think that sounds pretty good. And Mike, their year over year numbers here are actually great. So they say that their data center sales rose 83% year over year. Their gaming pretty much segment rose 1.7 billion or 32% year over year, which is pretty big. And then their PC sales rose 25% to 2.2 billion in the quarter. So honestly, it's really cool to see that all these different, I guess you could say, sectors within their company are rising year over year, especially that gaming sector. I thought that was cool to see. Even the data center sector is obviously really big because that, like it says here, this is really big for like cloud computing. And as we know, cloud computing and just everything with the cloud is getting bigger as kind of technology keeps advancing.
Yeah, so overall, the earnings report was pretty decent, but sometimes the stock market, just because you have good earnings, it doesn't mean your stock will rise up, especially in the short term. There are multiple reasons as to why the stock can fall off of good earnings. One of them would be just if the company is overvalued. And then another reason is just like if the stock market is irrational in the short term. So overall, earnings were not bad, but the stock's falling. Looking at it right now, Tom, like you said, it's below $100 again, but it's not falling too much. It's right around $95 a share. What are your thoughts on AMD for like the next couple days or so? Do you see any important levels for us to watch or anything like that?
Yeah, honestly, in after hours here, this wick to the downside is pretty wild. If it extended all the way down, almost to $90 even. But I will say I see a pretty big support down here, right around $91.50. I see that as being a huge level. Also, right around 92. But you can see the 91.50 had a lot of bounces there as well. And I'm also seeing a huge support here in the middle, right around $94, and then a resistance overhead right around 96. So I'm curious to see where AMD will end up tomorrow. I kind of expect it to maybe hover around $94 to $96, Mike. I don't really see it going too crazy. Hopefully, it starts to inch back to the upside and maybe help out some of the other chip stocks in the market. But as far as big levels go, I'm really watching that main level down there, kind of where this wick was almost getting down to, somewhere around like 90 to 92.
All right, good to know. Another pretty popular company that reported in after hours is Airbnb, which actually had a pretty decent earnings report. So tell us more.
Yes, it actually looks pretty good here. So their revenue jumped 58% year over year, Mike, which is awesome. They reported net income of 379 million, and at this time last year, they actually reported a loss of 68 million. So that's huge to see them up that much on their income there. They also announced a $2 billion stock buyback program, Mike. You would think that this would really help the stock here, but looking at their movement in after hours, they're down just like AMD. So they closed up here up around 118. Now they're falling. They're actually at like 106 or 107 right now. But Mike, this article actually looks pretty good here. Like I said, that $2 billion buyback's good. They beat on EPS. Their revenue came in just ever so slightly under that expectation. Honestly, though, with the EPS beat, I would think that would make up for it. But man, that $2 billion buyback sounds really nice. I'm really surprised to see that this one's in the red.
Yeah, I mean, that was not a bad earnings report. So very interesting there. And then, Tom, we had another relatively popular stock, Starbucks, also report earnings. What's happening with this one?
Yeah, we have a lot of stocks reported tonight, Mike. But yeah, Starbucks beat on earning and revenue despite China lockdown. So it's cool to see that Starbucks actually reported good numbers here. So their EPS came in higher than expected. Their revenue also came in higher too. Like I said, they had some issues with obviously with China. There has been lockdowns over there and stuff like that. I know we've talked about that a lot regarding Tesla and a lot of other companies too. So obviously Starbucks did take a bit of a hit from that, but it says they had strong performance in the United States, and their same store sales increased 9%, driven by higher average order totals. So this is great, Mike. Hopefully Starbucks keeps reporting these great numbers. Looking at their stock in after hours, though, it's all over the place. It is slightly up. I don't really expect this one to explode too much, but definitely watch for that upper resistance around 85.50.
Yeah, I would say Starbucks' earnings was pretty good overall, but like you said, like they were kind of dragged down from China's closures, so that definitely had an impact on the earnings report. Just like you said, Starbucks was not the only company to be affected by China. Tesla was another significant company affected by the closures and lockdowns in China. So good stuff there. And then, Tom, with the last one, it's not an earnings report, but it is interesting. Robinhood had some big news in the after hours. What's happening?
Yeah, their stock is down a little bit right now, and I'm surprised this one's not down even more, Mike. They are cutting about 23% of jobs right now. And Mike, I know we were making some jokes about this in after hours, but they're cutting 23% of jobs. I think Vlad needs to get a haircut himself here. Man, I mean, but nonetheless, this is a crazy company, as we know. Robinhood is a lot of people's favorite trading platform. So it's definitely crazy to see them cutting 23% of jobs. Like it says here, they previously laid off 9% of their workforce in April. So this is pretty crazy to see these big cuts. A lot of companies have been announcing job cuts or layoffs over the past couple months. I know even Elon's talked about stuff like that. So we'll have to see what ends up really happening. But yeah, it's not good. They said they're going to reduce their headcount by approximately 23%. That's definitely not good news. And Robinhood actually reports earnings tomorrow after market close. So it's interesting that they came out with this the day before. Like I said earlier, Mike, it's kind of like they're bracing us for impact for their earnings tomorrow.
Yeah, true. Speaking of earnings, what does the schedule look like for the rest of the week?
Yeah, it's still big. So even though tonight we had some big ones, obviously tomorrow before open we're gonna have Under Armour, pretty big. I guess you could say clothing company. Then we have Moderna and CVS, some pretty big healthcare stocks right under that. And then Thursday, Mike, we have Alibaba before open, Datadog. After close, we have AMC, Square, Cloudflare, Twilio, and then DraftKings Friday. So we still have a lot of big ones on the horizon. Honestly, tomorrow morning, Moderna is going to be pretty interesting. I know they've been obviously moving a lot since the pandemic, and I can't wait for Lucid tomorrow after close either. I think that's going to be cool to see how their production numbers are going, and hopefully they're meeting some of those goals.
Sounds good. So, Tom, shifting into the overall market, over the past 2 weeks, we have seen a ton of great positive momentum, mainly driven by the bullish earnings releases that we saw from like these powerhouse stocks like Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, and a couple others. Right now, we still have a decent amount of upwards momentum overall, but it is definitely fading, and the market in a lot of these powerhouse stocks are a little bit overbought in the short term. So looking at stocks for the rest of the week, I would not be surprised if we saw some slight pullbacks. Now, then again, we still have momentum, but I just want to say that because, just because you guys see stocks blasting up right now, let's not forget that over the past 2 to 3 weeks, some of these giant companies are up anywhere from, 10 to 20% or even more in some extreme cases.
Yeah, they really are. Like, look at Amazon here. They were all the way down around 122. They blasted up to highs of around like 139 where they double topped up there. Now they're consolidating like right around that 134 support. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of stocks high right now, Mike. And I'm glad you pointed out some of those stocks moving with earnings because we still have a lot of big earnings coming up this week. It was pretty interesting. Last week, a lot of stocks were moving up with earnings. This week, I'm seeing a lot of them move down, obviously, like AMD, of course, and a couple of the other ones that already reported this week. But that's kind of like a stark contrast. But I'm definitely going to keep my eyes out for that small pullback as well. Even like looking at the SPY, Mike, it's even a little bit overextended. We even have a triple top going on up here, up around 413. You can see I actually put a nice little resistance level up there around 413, and then there's a really big support down here around 407 that I'm gonna be watching for tomorrow. If we break below 407, which was honestly right around that low of today, I think we might be able to see some pretty big sell-off come in.
Alrighty, we'll keep that on the radar, but let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have DraftKings to the upside.
DraftKings, yeah, here we go. Nice pre-earnings run up here. Go ahead and make them break above 1565.
Yeah, it seems like these growth plays are having a little bit of a pre-earnings run up because of shorts covering, and I think good old-fashioned fear of missing out. So keep DraftKings on your radar. With the next one, we have Shopify.
Shopify, here we go. Yeah, I know they reported earnings last week and did pretty well too. Go ahead and make them break above 39.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Apple, but to the downside.
Yeah, Apple, for some reason, like the kings of the market right now, are pretty low. Go ahead and make them break below 159.70.
Sounds good. So we were watching DraftKings and Shopify for potential day trades to the upside tomorrow, only if they break above the levels Tom listed. And then we are watching Apple for potential day trade to the downside tomorrow, only if it breaks below the level Tom listed. But I also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, John Y in the Stocked Up Discord. Huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for all of your activity lately, and nice job with some of your recent trades. So huge shout out to John Y. Thanks for being a great member of the chat. But Tom, we have to showcase the bot play from today. It was amazing. So looking at the Discord today, we can see our hybrid bot called out Baba, 91 strike calls at $400 each. And I think it's like less than an hour later, It popped all the way up to $604 each. It was an amazing, amazing play. The market has been wild over the past couple weeks, which has been perfect for our bot. If you want to get daily options trades every single day, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. You can cancel at any time. Our bot is awesome. It does one great job at option signals. Today's play went from 400 up to 604. Of course, not every single play wins. No software wins every single time, but generally speaking, it does very, very well. Definitely check it out. If you do want to try it out, the first month you can save $41 by using coupon code 2022. But yeah, Tom, do you have any other favorite setups or anything you are watching heading into tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stocks that did very well today across the growth sector. Like I said, we're gonna see Lucid reporting tomorrow night. I think that's going to be a very big report coming up. They were having a pretty big pre-earnings run up today, kind of like what we saw with DraftKings and a few others. So very interesting. Like you said, that could be shorts covering too. I did notice that some of the casino stocks like Caesar, Penn Gaming, and other stocks like that started really popping up today too. Look at Caesar's actually in after hours. They had some pretty high prints all the way up around 51.50. So we're definitely seeing some pretty big moves lately, Mike. Hopefully we keep seeing these big pops out of these growth plays. It's been a long time. Whenever we go out to some of these stocks like Zoom, Meta, and stocks like that, and you look on the daily chart, you start to really see some pretty good setups here. Like honestly, Zoom starting to bounce off some pretty good supports right around $100 even. And it's just a great time to buy, I feel like, for the longer term. So don't miss out if you guys are, looking to start a longer term portfolio or anything. Now is one of the best times with stocks at discounts, and don't miss out. Like Mike said earlier, a lot of people are jumping in right now because of FOMO and everything like that, along with shorts covering. So we might be on a bit of a short-term uptrend here.
All right, we'll see. If you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to try out our bot, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. It's awesome, especially with this volatility. Besides that, let's have an amazing rest of the week.